If you're going on a Caribbean or a Bahamas cruise, there's a good chance that you're going to be stopping at your cruise line's private island. Now, this has the potential to be one of the very best days of your cruise. After all, on the most part, almost everything is free. However, there are definitely some mistakes that you'll want to avoid if you want to make this the absolute perfect day. Hi there, I'm Ilana from the website lifewellcruise.com. Welcome back to my channel. Now, your day in the cruise line private island has the potential to be one of the very best days of a cruise. However, there are some things that you can do to make that day even better, and there are definitely some mistakes that you want to avoid. In fact, there have been a couple of mistakes that I've made in the last year or so at a couple of private islands. I'm going to share those mistakes with you, as well as some of the other things that you'll want to take note of before you stop in your private island for the day. Now, before I get started, I did want to mention that if you like this video, if you find it helpful, informative, or enjoyable in any way, then please do give this video a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Let's get started. Number one, thinking that all cruise line private islands are the same. So if you've been to one cruise line private island and you think, you know what, I've been there, I've seen that, I don't want to get off at the next one, you might be wrong. All of them are different. Some cruise line private islands have beaches and several beaches. Others are going to have beaches as well as pools. Some are going to have excursions, including horseback riding or jet skis. And others are going to feel a little bit more like a nature reserve. Now, the good thing is that all cruise line private islands do have included food. They have included drinks. And on the most part, even your chairs and your loungers are going to be included for when you do sit down at the beach or pool areas. Number two, I feel like this one trips a lot of people up. It is that you're not allowed to bring shells back to the cruise ship. Now, especially if you go with kids and they have picked some shells or some rocks down at the beach, they're going to be very disappointed to find out that they cannot bring these back on the cruise ship. Now, by the way, this is not just at the cruise line private islands, but this is generally something that you're not usually allowed to bring back on the cruise ship. Now, do check as well some of the other rules. Recently, we were at MSC's private island Ocean Cay Marine Reserve, and I noticed some signs with some different rules, including the fact that you're not allowed to fly a drone there. Which brings me to point number three. It is a mistake to not research what you can actually do in your cruise line private island. So you'll want to find out about the beaches. There are usually some beaches that are going to be a little bit more rough, some beaches that are going to be a little bit more perhaps in a bay, a little bit quieter. So depending on what you plan to do for the day, you'll want to research that. And you'll also want to find out, are there nature trails where you want to go walking? Are there some excursions that you want to book? Those are all things that you'll want to research in advance. And in particular, if you do have any excursions that you think that you do want to book, those are things that you'll want to book in advance as well. Number four, avoid going for lunch at the peak times. And now, typically on cruise line private islands, there's going to be a sort of large buffet or a beach barbecue where you might have hamburgers and hot dogs, maybe tacos and ribs and salads and fruits, really quite a lot. However, these areas do tend to get very busy, in particular between 12 and 1 o'clock. Now, most of the time, these are going to open at around 11:30. So something that I would do probably, especially if I had kids, is I would go early. Now, while you can go later, something that you can actually risk is that a lot of the food is already gone or just doesn't look like it's so well presented. So that is something to keep in mind. Now, something really good, quite a few private islands have alternative venues. So you can definitely go to the big buffet, but you might find other included places where you can actually pick up some snacks or some burgers. So that's something that you'll want to do as well. Now, those are places that are included, but if you don't mind spending a little bit of money, you can also look for some specialty restaurants that are on cruise line private islands that are actually really highly rated. Now, I will tell you something that we did recently, and it's the first time that I ever did it, but I do think it really worked out well. We were on our MSC Cruise on MSC Seascape, and we stopped at Ocean Cay Marine Reserve. Now, we had a little bit of stuff to do in the morning time before we got off the cruise ship, so something we decided to do was just eat on the cruise ship. I actually found the buffet quite good. So we had some pizza and some other food right on the ship. We got off the ship around 12:30. We had already eaten, so we got to walk right past that big line right over to the beach, where it was actually quite quiet during the lunch hour when everybody else was eating. I don't really regret that at all, although I have had some really nice meals on the beach. But that is something, if you don't think you're going to spend the entire day at the beach, you can always simply eat on the cruise ship or even go back to the cruise ship to eat and avoid those crowds. By the way, if you've been to a cruise line private island, please let me know how you handle the lunch hour and food. Please let me know any tips and tricks that you have to make it a little bit easier. Please let me know down in the comments below. Don't order a drink before you know if your cruise line drink package extends to the private island. Now, it turns out this is definitely not the same across all cruise lines. So for instance, if you're cruising with Royal Caribbean and you have the drink package, that is going to extend to Perfect Day at Coco Cay. However, if you are cruising with Holland America, like I was at one point, the drink package did not extend to Half Moon Cay. Now, I still ended up ordering a mango daiquiri. It was okay, but I guess it was something that, had I researched, I would have known. The internet. So just like you want to know how does the drink package work on the island, you want to know, is the internet going to work on the island? Now, our experience over the last couple of years has been that the Wi-Fi usually does work on the private islands, which is really good. So I did make a mistake on a recent cruise when we were at Ocean Cay Marine Reserve. Well, there was a sign as we got off the cruise ship telling us how the internet worked on the island. Now, I should have really snapped a picture of that because it was a little bit of a process, and I don't remember having that in other private islands. So in any case, by the time I got to the beach, I realized that I was not able to access my internet. Neither was my husband or son. Again, not the end of the world. We spent a few hours without any internet. It was actually a little bit peaceful. Although I did go and get a drink. The drinks, by the way, the drink package was included at Ocean Cay Marine Reserve. But because I only had QR codes, I wasn't actually able to open up the menu on my phone for the internet. Anyway, not the end of the world, but in hindsight, I should have taken a picture of the instructions, or I should have just accessed the internet right away as soon as I got off the ship. Forgetting to bring water shoes and other beach necessities. Now, you definitely don't need water shoes, but something that we found, and a lot of other cruise passengers say that they found this as well, is that sometimes the beaches in certain cruise line private islands, well, the beaches may just have little rocks that can make it uncomfortable for your feet. Water shoes are absolutely amazing. If you don't know what they are, basically they almost feel like a slip-on sock, but they really do protect the bottom of your feet. You can go swimming with them, you can walk along the beach in them, and they're really comfortable. You can buy them once and they will last you for years. Now, I am going to leave a link to water shoes down in the description below this video in case you do want to pick some up or just want to check them out. Now, some other things that you'll want to bring with you, make sure you don't forget them on the ship: sunscreen, your lip balm. Don't forget to bring your towels from the cruise ship off to the private island. Now, sometimes you can actually pick up towels in the cruise line private island, but don't rely on that. However, a little tip: check if you can leave your towels in the private island. Sometimes you can sign them back in there and then you don't have to actually lug them back onto the cruise ship. Don't assume everything is included. No, a lot is included on the cruise line private islands. That's one of the reasons that I like them so much, especially if you are on a Caribbean cruise where you might be choosing excursions in other places. It's a great day to just have a beach and a pool day if that's something that you like. But there are some things that are going to cost you extra. So while you can get a lounge chair and that's going to be included, if you want an umbrella or a clamshell, you're going to need to pay a little bit extra for that. You can definitely rent a cabana. But if you want to even get a beach mat to float on, or maybe snorkel gear, that is something that is going to be extra. So I do have a little tip for you. It is a mistake not to bring some of your own items. Now, in particular, I would say snorkel gear. If you think you're going to snorkel, you're perhaps going to snorkel at other beaches as well. It is much cheaper than renting it. It's much cheaper and probably even a little bit more sanitary to simply bring your own. Just like the water shoes, I'll leave some suggestions linked down below in the description of this video. Now, another mistake that some people make is assuming that you do not need cash for the private islands. Now, you can actually survive just fine without any cash, but there could be maybe some times that you want to have a little bit of money with you. So some of those times include having a little bit of money to tip the people on the excursions. Now, that was something that happened to us. I did a glass bottom boat excursion once, and at the end of it, I wanted to give a little tip to the guides who were working with us, but unfortunately I didn't bring any money with me, so that was something that I really did regret. But other times, maybe you want to give $1 or $2 when you're picking up a drink at one of the bars, or you may want to shop at some of the souvenir shops and craft markets, and typically that is something that you want to have a little bit of extra money with you as well. Don't assume there are lifeguards. So even though there may be lifeguards at the beaches, there may be lifeguards at the pools, it is not the same on every cruise line private island. And even if there are lifeguards, just like on the cruise ship, you don't really want to rely on them. So make sure, especially parents, grandparents, that you are supervising the children, even though it's a private island and generally the waters are going to be pretty calm, especially if you do choose a pretty calm beach. Accidents can happen, and you definitely do want to watch that. Now, speaking of kids, something a lot of people forget to bring with them, and this is really inexpensive to bring with, go to the dollar store before your cruise, pick up some sand toys. This is a perfect day to just sit on the beach, play with the sand toys. Sometimes you can even get the collapsible sand toys so that it doesn't take up a lot of room in your luggage, but definitely bring a few things for your kids to play with on the beach. And even some people say that they actually like to bring some floaties and some other things to play in the water. Staying on board. Now, unless you've been to this private island many times, if it is your first cruise, don't stay on board. Get off the cruise ship. It can be a mistake to stay on board and not actually explore this beautiful private island that's been curated just for you and the other cruise passengers. Many cruise line private islands are just getting better and better, and I definitely think that they are worth the visit. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Please let me know, what are your favorite cruise line private islands? Please let me know down in the comments below. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please do give it a big thumbs up. I really do appreciate it, and please subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Bye for now, and happy cruising.